So here's Thom Tillis. You recall who Thom Tillis is. Thom Tillis is the now senator of North Carolina. He is one of the guys who ushered in all those bills in North Carolina when he was head of the assembly there, I guess, or the legislature, speaker of the legislature, whatever they call it, in North Carolina, to curtail the voting rights of African Americans in particular. And here he is espousing some of his, libertarian pro-freedom philosophy, folks. This is the outcome-based pro-freedom philosophy that he espouses. He was at the Bipartisan Policy Center. I don't know what that place is. And apparently he was at a Starbucks in 2010. And he was talking to a woman about regulation, and he wanted to make a point to her. And here's his point, because you know how oppressive regulation could be, right? And the market can take care of all this stuff. All right, let's listen to this insanity, which is also even insane on his own terms.
We were talking about certain regulations where I felt like maybe you should allow businesses to opt out. We were sitting back at a table that was near the restrooms, and one of the employees just came out. She said, for example, don't you believe that this regulation that requires this gentleman to wash his hands before he serves your food is important, should be on the books? As a matter of fact, I think it's one that I can illustrate the point. I said, I don't have any problem with Starbucks if they choose to opt out of this policy, as long as they post a sign that says, we don't require our employees to wash their hands after leaving the restroom. The market will take care of that.
No, that's brilliant. So what you should do is get rid of the health requirement regulation, because regulations like that are completely oppressive, and regulate just that they announce that they don't wash their hands. So, just take it on his logic for a moment. Regulations are bad. Businesses know what they're doing. We just need to regulate that they tell people that they're doing what they're doing specifically. Well, now wait a second. So how about we also, you got no problem with us regulating what's in their food either, do you? In terms of like them announcing what their recipes are. And you know what? We should also probably announce what other things that we don't even pay our people anything. The guy doing your cooking, he gets $0.25 an hour, 25 cents. Aside from the fact, let's not even talk about the health issues here. Let's just talk about the ridiculousness of libertarian arguments. This guy doesn't even realize that he's arbitrarily deciding which regulation is good or bad, even though he's starting with a priori principle that regulations are bad. There's no better illustration than this guy's illustration of how moronic libertarian ideas are in practice. And then now let's just talk for a moment about the idea of it doesn't matter. We would, of course, the sign would have to be large enough so that everyone was aware that every time that they get some food, the guy who just took a poop may not have washed his hands. Okay? And in fact, he's not required in any way to wash his hands. And in fact, this Starbucks, we don't even put a sink in there. If the guy wants to wash his hands, he has to go outside, take a break, take time off, not get paid, and go find a place to wash his hands. So the idea that, maybe this would spread disease or anything like that, that's not even relevant. We can just let the marketplace take care of it. And if the market fails, I'll tell you something. I walk to work just about every day. And when you walk by a storefront that has not shoveled its walk, or an area where there's they're building and they haven't shoveled their walk, it sucks. And I imagine if I was not as young and spry as I am, it could actually be very dangerous. And we rely on the businesses, right? It's their responsibility to, and if they don't, they're going to get a fine. Well, you know what? Here's the thing. I don't care if they get a fine or not, because if it's just cheaper for them to pay the fine, then they pay the fine. And I don't even care if it's so big that it's onerous, according to a libertarian. That sidewalk should be safe. It doesn't help an old lady or an old man if they slip and fracture their hip to know that, well, this guy's, at least he's going to get fined.
Well, if I could jump in for freedom for just one moment.
But let me just make this point here, because the idea is that there are certain things where you need the government to intervene and the market forces don't correct it. And we talk about this in the context of a company. Well, a company sells products that are going to kill people. They'll be out of business eventually. If we're lucky, if all the market mechanisms, that's great. I lost my kid, but at least that company selling lead as candy is no longer in business once we have some type of, I guess, private association that tracks down who did it, even though they're unimpeachable and they could never be bought by that company. I mean, the entire philosophy is so bankrupt. And to actually have a sitting senator, and this guy isn't posturing, right? He genuinely believes this. And he's not going to review that tape and go, hey, wait a second. I'm a total moron. I'm willing to require a business to inform everybody that they're endangering their customers, but I'm not willing to require that that company doesn't endanger their customers in an obvious way. I'm a real idiot. He's not going to say that. I really don't think he will.